Hi, I'm Rebecca Rosen, a spiritual medium and best-selling author. Welcome to my podcast, Small, Medium, at Large. Although small in stature, I've been taking on the big and unusual job of talking to the dead for over 20 years. I serve as a messenger for spirit, helping people to connect to their departed loved ones and guides, while also encouraging them to strengthen their own intuition. So I am so excited to have you on this podcast and in my book. You are such a significant piece of my journey. And, I really want to share you with the world because you have done so much for me. I mean, you truly are a part of my ground crew, and you are my energy healer, you're my therapist, and you're my mentor, all rolled into one. And I'm just so grateful that our paths crossed. What was it, like 5 years ago?
I think so. Oh, thank you. I mean, I'm going to receive that because it's an honor to be engaged with you, to be related to you on so many levels, in a way that is enriching for me as well. And I'm just really grateful that I have the opportunity to share what I think we both get from our relationship to spirit, and how rich not only that relationship is that we each have with the divine, but how it has created and formed our relationship. I think, I should say co-created and formed our relational experience. And I'm really, I don't know, it's just always a joy. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I talk a lot about in What's Your Heaven. I keep looking at it. It's right here. And this is where you are.
The beautiful cover.
I introduced Jakki in the book, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But so yes, I talk about soul contracts, and you and I are absolutely a part of each other's soul contract. I'd worked with another healer who was such a gift for me for 10 years. And then she said, Rebecca, I'm not doing it in this capacity anymore. It's time for you to find someone new. And I prayed. And a few days later, one of my best friends said, you've got to call this woman. And then the rest is history. So here we are.
Yeah, that's so incredible how that works, right? It's like one door closes or one window closes and another one opens. And when we have the courage to walk through it, it can really lead us to something incredible.
Yeah. And it requires us to be in constant faith and trust that, if we're clear and do our work, the universe will show up and bring us the right people and situations in the right timing.
Absolutely. Something that comes to me to say is, when we think about soul contracts, and you and I have talked a lot about this, it's like, what's for the highest and best good of all concerned, right? And if we're interested in fulfilling our contract, then that answer may be very different than what we think it should be, right? It may be a yes when we think we're supposed to say no, or, a no when we think we're supposed to say yes. But as long as we're following and honoring, who we want to be in the world, our divinity, when we show up in our relationships, and if we're in honor of light and love, then we're not responsible for someone's response. So in fulfilling a soul contract, we may be surprised that, it's a little topsy-turvy sometimes, because it doesn't mean that it's just going to be, all rainbows, right? It
Exactly.
Could be, to me, rainbows are balanced, but it could get very messy for a little bit. But it's really, as long as you're honoring yourself, you can trust that you're honoring your soul contract. It's like, how do I know? What is that barometer for staying, attuned to the relational weather, right? It has to be honor. And I think I think you see that all the time too in your work with people in your small groups, right? When relationships don't end when we cease to be embodied, they continue, right?
Exactly. So I was just on someone's podcast and we were talking about when your loved ones die, they're not dying. Their energy doesn't die. It just changes form. And so they're just moving to a different frequency. And so then it becomes our responsibility to do our work to manage our frequency and attune our energy to match their energy so we can line up and be in relationship and feel them and get signs from them and have an ongoing, relationship. And so I think it's, so this brings in your work. Okay. And
Right.
so how this book really was born was that about 4 years ago in one of our sessions, you said your guides are exalting you because you've done the work, you're leveling up, and it's time for you to be granted access to a new level of wisdom and information. And we talked about the Akashic records, and which is, for anyone who's not familiar, it's the energetic space that holds our soul's histories over lifetimes lived. Okay. I always like to think of it like a spiritual cloud. Okay. Yeah. And so I was, all of a sudden during the pandemic, I was doing 2 straight years of like marathon reading, like seeing 30, 40 clients a week. And there was this recurring theme going on where I would start reading their record, and the record holds their soul contract, what they signed up for, the lessons, life assignments they're here to learn. And it was really powerful because, you kept working with me because we work weekly to attune my energy, to raise my vibration, but it takes work. If you want to develop your gifts, if you want to grow and evolve as a soul, there are things we have to do. You can't just do nothing, right?
Right. It's about practice. So, and you talk about this in your book, I know, and I talk about it a lot with clients. And then it's, what's the difference between process and practice, right? So process, we're going to process information. We're going to process an experience. And the point of process is to work something through. But we always think that when we work it through, there's going to be an end point, right? It's going to be done. We're going to go through the process and it will be over. Well, that's not the case in enlightenment.
Unfortunately.
Right? Enlightenment is about practice. It's about entrainment, which means the more I practice showing up in my light, the more I practice attuning my energy field to love, the more love I will hold. That light will then become me. And so it's not necessarily about going through a process that's really hard. It's about maintaining a practice that actually is attuned and becomes you eventually.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. It's like you have to repeat it through a practice to integrate it into your being.
Yes. Practice is integration. And integration happens when we say, you know what, no matter what I do, no matter what you do, I'm going to be me. I know who me is. And that me is that I'm love, I am divine, and I'm going to hold there. But that doesn't mean I'm going to be complacent. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to be, the word that I'm hearing to say is soft. It means that I'm going to be firm in my knowing. I'm going to have seniority and agency over my energy field. So just like we practice anything, whether it's a musical instrument or a sport or, an art, we evolve in that practice, right? We become more efficient. We become more advanced. And I don't mean advanced in a word of competition, like better than someone else, because if we're thinking that through our evolutionary process toward, fully integrating light in every cell, in every atom of our being, and that makes us better than someone, we need to go and find a new practice, because it's not about becoming better than, it's not about being more enlightened than. That in itself brings our energy down into a frequency of competition, and it will hold us back from actually building the strength that we need to have in order to have agency and sovereignty over who we are. And so every time I show up in love, I am building my muscle in light, right? My all 4 layers of my being are now integrating, and the fibers are strengthening, and my boundary gets stronger. And that's what I mean. We don't become soft, we become brighter, stronger, and free.
Right. Free. That's a big one. No more enslavement and holding healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that brings in using discernment, not judgment, but discernment.
Yeah.
Right. To make good choices that honor yourself.
Mm-hmm. Discernment is essential. We use judgment. Do you want to talk a little bit about judgment?
Sure.
You want me to?
It's coming up for a reason.
Yeah, I thought so. I was picking that up, but I wanted to make sure you wanted. So the interesting thing about judgment is we all believe we need it. It's a very tricky, manipulative energy. And we're programmed. We're programmed from, the moment that we can remember what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. It's easy to categorize things, right? Put them in little, buckets of good, bad, right, wrong, less than, greater than, winner, loser.
Especially in this world of duality and contrast in the 3D.
Yes. Yeah. And I see it as, okay, what we really want to do is we want to see past it. We want to put in a little bit of attunement there, and discernment is attunement. We want to use the frequency. Instead of using judgment, let's use compassion. Let me see through what's really happening here. Let me see, instead of seeing that that's bad, why don't I see everything from the soul's perspective, that it's an opportunity for wisdom. It's an opportunity to become clear or to understand something at a deeper level, and practice tolerance and grace and all of those wonderful things. Not sympathy. Sympathy is different than compassion. And oftentimes, someone will have sympathy for somebody. We don't need that. That's just a judgment that something's bad, or right.
Right.
And so if we practice discernment, what we're doing is we're attuning, and we're saying, is this what I'm experiencing right now coming from a place of light, which means love? Is it coming from a place, like I said, grace, tolerance, or is it coming from a fear? And if it's coming from a fear, I don't want to go into an agreement with that fear. I'm not going to agree with it, and I don't need to judge it as wrong in order to disagree with it. Mm-hmm. I need to see it from, wow, that's not who or where I want to relate to this person, and therefore I'm going, even though I see they're in pain and that their pain is now in my space, I don't need to pick it up as mine. All I need to say is, no, thank you. I'm not going to go there with you. I see that you're in pain, but no, thank you. How can I support you in a way that's going to hold you and me in a place of regard? That's an example of using discernment, right? Whereas so many times what we do is we just say, no, you're wrong. And then we just shut down. It's wrong. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see. And oftentimes when someone's really needing to be right, it's because they're afraid you're going to reject them if they're not. So many of us hold on to righteousness and the judgment that I'm right and you're wrong, because we're so afraid if a judgment comes against us as being wrong, we will either be persecuted or rejected. So we all get, that's the tricky part of judgment. It gets us to believe that without it, we're not safe.
Right. And all of this goes back to being in your ego, edging God out, and not in your higher self. And I love this because it lends to the book. says the title is What's Your Heaven? Because heaven is not a place, it's a feeling. Okay. It's a feeling of everything you talked about, of peace and connection and unity and oneness and love and light and grace and compassion, all of those. And then hell, we could say, is all the fear-based emotions of competition and judgment and self-righteousness and on and on and on.
Anxiety and,
yes,
any type of dis-ease, shame. Mm-hmm.
Especially victimhood. That is the lowest frequency there is, shame and victimhood.
Absolutely.
And so this book is really about, okay, so you're not a victim. So how do we take this from victimhood to empowerment, right? And so it's all about, on a mind, body, spirit level, managing your energy, choosing your words carefully. You taught me recently, instead of saying, why is this happening again? Okay, which puts you in victim, you say, what is this here to teach me? So you said, go from why to what? And that is a huge shift.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting because you can hear in the language you choose what energy is present, right? And you said earlier, and that's why I love that you're putting this information out in the world about heaven, because we live in a multidimensional planet. We can access heaven or hell from this place, from this 3D world. It's about discernment. It's about choice. Mm-hmm. It's about saying, I have agency over my energy field. And so I'm in that agency. I am able to attune to the energies that are in harmonic with the truth of who I am. And I'm going to connect in those relationships that meet me there.
Yes.
And that's the point of, it doesn't matter if somebody's embodied or not. I can connect to them through the frequency of love. Love transcends all space and time. And that's the art of what you do, is that you can get on that. You're neutral enough to find those love connections and then interpret the conversation for, right, for your clients, for whomever you're working with. And because we believe that death is real and that it's a loss, that grief blocks us. And so what it does then is, when we believe that death is real, we go into a hell.
Mm-hmm.
And, light can go there, and it will, but it doesn't stay long, because everything has got to be a matching vibration in order to hold and be sustained. And so if we can attune, get neutral, and realize that we have choice, we have agency, and it doesn't matter what happened 5 minutes ago. It doesn't matter what happened 10 years ago. The why gets us stuck in a rumination, and it leaves our energy somewhere trying to figure out why we were harmed.
Right.
Instead of saying, wait a minute, what is it that I need to know so that I can grow from that experience, right? Or if it's something in which we believe we perpetrated and we can't forgive ourselves, right? And so we're stuck in the trauma of self-betrayal. We need to say, not why did I do that, or judge ourselves as being less than. We need to say, what wisdom do I now have from that experience? And stop judging ourselves in the past. We are evolutionary beings. It's about, I made those choices back then. If you want to really know the why of it was because I was at a certain vibration in that moment, and that was all I could see.
Right.
And now I'm not in that vibration anymore. I've evolved, and now I can see more clearly. So now I'm going to make this choice. Right. Because I'm taking the wisdom and I'm actually integrating it in the here and now. That brings all my energy back to here. And instead of being stuck in the why, or that's the past, or stuck in the what if, which is the future. I'm going to be in the wisdom of the here and now. And it's from the present and being in that place of forgiveness, which is the disagreement with the pain and the suffering and the rumination around the why and the what if, the victim consciousness. If I'm here, now I can create a heaven right here, right now.
Right.
Because I'm attuned.
Yeah. And you don't need to wait until you die. And that was the inspiration. No. And the spirits come through saying, please wake up now, because it was only in their death that they had the realization you just shared. And we're in this new earth like this. We have access to 4 and 5D energies, so we can bring heaven to earth, and we can live awakened and make choices in the frequency of light and not shadow, which in the end allows us to learn our life lessons with joy and grace and ease, and not the pain and struggle I think so many of us are used to.
Right. Forgiveness energy is required for that, because what forgiveness says is, I don't agree with that fear. I don't agree with that suffering. I'm not going to become it. I'm not going to choose from it. I'm not going to let that shadow run my show.
Yeah.
It's not going to create my, when we're stuck in a fear, it's going to materialize in our relationships and in our experience. It will become our reality. And so when we make the conscious choice to let go of judgment of something being good or bad, because again, that's the trickiest energy. I always think judgment is it blocks us from heaven. Mm-hmm. It's like the last, it's the last block or brick wall that we have to, walk through in order to actually get to sustain our place, our heaven, no matter where we are.
Yes.
Because it tells us that, this concept that God judges.
Mm-hmm.
Divine, whether you believe in God or whatever you believe as far as this universal, order in which there is this energy of love and light. You can call it God. It doesn't matter to me. But what we do know is there is a universal light that is creative, and it is unconditional love and beauty. And this planet is full of it, because the earth, at the core of the earth, it is a creative energy that all things are, created from. And so if we believe that judges, then we think that we need to figure the judgment out and follow it in order to get to heaven. To me, that's just, that doesn't even make any sense. No. Because if you believe that we're electromagnetic beings and that we hold light and everything is about this magnetic force, if we believe that God or the divine universe has love, it is impossible for that energy to judge. Right. It doesn't have the capacity to judge. It only has the capacity to love.
Well, and it takes it back. This is my first lesson of the 7 lessons, that I am connected, which means we are all divine sparks of light, connected through that source energy. And so in the end, we're all one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really that simple.
We're all one, yet we're one within the oneness. That's what we're trying to become. You see, we start as these neutrinos, these little particles of energy, right? And we start as a speck of energy, and then we evolve and grow into an energetic field that's organized as you, as me. And what I see is that the process for enlightenment is, I'm here to organize my energy field in a shape and form that is purely creativity and love and light.
Yes.
So that no matter where I am in a dimensional time and space, I still get to be me. So I get to be the one within the oneness.
Right. It's your unique divine expression.
Exactly. And so I don't just go from dust to dust.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that.
Stardust to
Right. I
to
love
dirt,
that.
I guess. But if you look at this planet and I love that, the how to create your heaven. This planet is an example of how to organize in pure creative form. Look at a tree. It's purely creative, right? The tree's not judging the other tree,
And it's not comparing itself and in competition. It just is a tree being.
Exists, playing its role in the ecosystem.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all really good. And, in the book, I talk a lot about running energy. And I created this whole CRT, change it, run it, tap it program in the book based off of our work together and I want to talk about what running your energy means. I'll let you kind of riff on that. But to give context, I remember in one of my sessions asking Spirit, I said, okay, I'm doing tapping, emotional freedom technique, because it really seems to help my nervous system and it helps me integrate. And you said, I think, so I said, I take my affirmations from, I am not worthy to I am worthy. I flip it, change the narrative. And then I use tapping, to help integrate it into my being, because I don't know that I believe affirmations alone work. And then the guidance that came through you was, that's great. And the guides suggest you also run your energy in addition. And so then I started doing all three. It was like the trifecta, and I could feel a shift. 5 minutes in the morning, change it, run it, tap it. I have this little program I do.
Yeah.
That is now the book. And that I would love for you to share what you meant by running your energy and how it combined, it helps integrate into your being and your beliefs.
Well, that, first of all, I want to acknowledge the brilliance of your process of, change it, run it, tap it, right? Because what you're doing is you're addressing energy on different levels, on the levels of your being. And so that will bring about a more hastened change, because it's not, it creates a fluidity or a harmonic, right? And so the process of running energy is a process of tapping into energy of the earth and source energy of the divine, and building a relationship with this infinite universe that's light, right? And so when we do that, that's where we find our more than. So when you're using an affirmation, if you're speaking from that energy, right, of light and love and creativity, then when you speak, your words have a magnetism to them. They're going to help call in other forces of the universe that match that vibration. Everything has a tone, has a vibration. Everything is a code, right? And so when I choose my words in an affirmation, I am speaking a code that's going to download more energy or information from the universe. So when I call in divine energy to run through my system, I'm using the word divine. I'm speaking a code. It's like now I get to download the software of divinity, right? It's coming in, it's filling me, and I can run the program. Now I get to run it. It will manifest in my health and well-being, not only within my physical body, my mental body, but in my relational experience to all things in all ways. So any type of energy of exchange now, as I'm bringing this infinite energy in, it's going to continue to create, because I'm vibrating at it. Now I'm that code. And possibly when we run energy, we want it to run in through the divine, through the crown chakra, and then up from the earth through the feet. We want it to flow through us and come out the top of our head, the seventh chakra, and go out into our auric field, which is our, our complete energy field is much bigger than our physical boundary. And so we want to make sure that we're cleaning and we're running and we're attuning our whole field of energy to this divine light. And we want it to keep running. We don't want energy to be stagnant. We want it to be fluid, because light is fluid. And so when you're saying your affirmation, tapping your physical body, that tapping is basically saying, hey, anything in there that's not in the light or not in a harmonic for me, it's time to leave. It's like, think about, you're tapping and you're saying, it's time, goodbye. If you're not in alignment with my intention, in my divinity, you can't stay. And so when you're running the energy, then that energy is coming in. You think of it as sort of your bouncer or your bodyguard. It's going to sweep up what you just tapped out.
Amazing.
And say, yep, you got to go.
Like flushing the toxins out.
Exactly, because dense vibrational energy that creates pain and suffering in any area of our life is rooted in a fear and a lie. Which means it's contrary to who we are at our core. And so our practice is meant to say, oh, what is going on here, that this dis-ease is present within me and around me? What do I need to know, Divine Spirit, so that I can grow, so that I can release the suffering and realize that the truth is, right, that I am safe, or the truth is I am capable. It's not this pain that I'm holding. The pain in itself is a lie, and it will continue to lie. That's why we don't ask the question, why?
Got it. That makes so much sense. And if left untouched, it's going to turn into some form of physical or mental or emotional dis-ease or disease.
Exactly. Because our soul wants the truth. We're here to, we're evolving beings. There's somewhere in our existence that we agreed with a lie. For example, when I was, my mom brought this up the other day at one of my workshops. She came and she was like, oh yeah, one of her, her regrets was when she left me at a department store. She forgot me and thought I was with somebody else, and I was there by myself. And it's funny, that's her pain picture of not doing enough, not, being conscious enough. And it's a pain picture that I have. It's a moment in time in which I bought into the lie that I wasn't capable of keeping myself safe. I was alone. I was left. I didn't matter. And so that is not a truth. That is the fear from that traumatic experience when a shadow came into play, that told me I don't matter and that I'm not capable of keeping myself safe. So I believe that. So how does that continually manifest in a pattern? Because I believed it in many ways, right? That I don't, in a way in which I would say yes when I meant no, or when I would not want to go places, by myself, not trusting that I can handle being by myself. So it continually that's karma. So I have karma with the lie that I bought into from that trauma. Is that my mother's fault? No. Was that her intention to leave me? No. Right?
Right.
But we get caught in the victim consciousness. You did that to me. When the truth is that there is a growth opportunity there for me to realize and understand that I am strong and that I do matter. Because the truth is, she picked me up, she remembered me, right? So eventually, but my soul doesn't want me to hold on to that. My soul wants me to say, wake up, solve this, see the truth, let go of the lie, and that will heal me. And then in that's called forgiveness. And then the balance can come back, and then the wellness can come back.
Right. And this plays into soul contracts. Your mother was just playing out a role that you two agreed to, so she could give you the opportunity to learn the shadow, heal it, and move on.
Exactly. And what helps us to know that is there was no intention for harm in that experience, right? And so oftentimes people will say, well, how do you know that that's a soul contract playing out, or that's an interference energy intending harm, and it's meant to be destructive, and it's actually a new trauma, right? Like a fresh trauma, I guess you would say. An intention, what my guidance says to me, and what I'm hearing to share now, is that intention has everything to do with understanding the difference there. So was my mother's intention in leaving me to harm me? Was she trying to prove a point? Was she trying to say, you didn't stay by me, see what happens? Was it, I told you so, or gotcha? It was none of that. So to your point, that was our soul contract. That's always been my soul contract with my mom. That's for me to stand up and say, I matter because my mom is so loving and nurturing and really, truly. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better experience as a mom, but she was really overbearing. I was raised in like a traditional Italian household. You think about the stereotypical, the mother that's eat more, let me take care of you, to the point where you're like, wait, are you telling me I can't take care of myself?
Right.
Because that's how I interpreted it.
Yes.
And so I had to say, in this soul contract, I see that I'm supposed to stand up and say, you know what, I can do this, and I'm safe to be seen, and I'm safe to be on my own, and I can meet you in grace, but you got to stop filling my plate, or you got to stop making my bed, or you got to stop, whatever.
Right. That was what it was intended for. And yes, I think this is going to be really helpful. People can relate, because then all the drama starts to fall away from the relationships, and we can get on with why we're really here, for, like you said, divine creativity.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Bringing up soul contracts and focusing on it as a way to formulate our heaven is brilliant, because if we can understand the soul contract, get up there on that, that perch, and see the bigger experience of what's trying to happen for our soul, rather than just, for this moment in time. It allows so much healing, and it allows relationships to find true intimacy, right?
Yes. And, this is just such a huge part of my work. I mean, this is in spirit coming through saying, like, have your aha moment now, so that you can thank your antagonizer, or the controlling mother, or whatever, because you can then take your power back.
Yes.
From them.
Yes. You can, well, it's not even from them, it's from the shadow energy that you're in agreement with.
Right.
And it may even be their shadow, right? So somebody, especially in these more intimate relationships, that if the shadow starts to run the show, and you're relating in shame and blame, right? You did this to me, and you hold resentment, those frequencies of energy, and any type of entity of energy that vibrates at that, is going to be magnetized to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go into these spirals of sabotage, right, in relationships, and you got to get out of your own way by seeing where is the wisdom. What am I to know from that? Asking that question, then you're going to start to go, oh, okay, I realize that this pain that's inside of me is my own. Nobody did this to me. I already had it, and I need to practice getting out of it, not indulging it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing this to share, and I don't think I've ever seen it this way before, but we have a misunderstanding of what intimacy is. Somewhere, emotional intimacy, somewhere it's gotten translated into, I'm going to tell you what I feel and what I think, and you're going to know the rawness of everything. And that makes us intimate. Well, no, it makes us each other's whipping posts. We have to,
Good point.
right?
Yeah.
It's about, whoa, I have this feeling right now. It's in relationship to something that you just said or did. But I realized that I would only have this uncomfortable feeling if there was something inside me, a fear that I was in agreement with, or a pain that is being lit up from my past experience. And I'm looking through at this experience through a pain lens, and let me process that. And then I can go and share it with my friend or my partner or my coworker. But sharing it in the raw just indulges that pain. Now it feeds it. And when I go and I like to say, throw it up on somebody, which, hey, I've done many times. When I do that, all I'm doing is saying, oh gosh, it's like hot potato. I don't want all this. Let me give it to you. I'm going to throw it up all over you.
Yes, that's exactly what it's like. Yes.
And then when I do that, it's like I'm throwing anger or resentment. It's going to stick on that person and probably trigger their anger and resentment. And now, instead of me talking to this person I love, it's my anger and resentment talking to their anger and resentment. And what my mentor, Michael Bates, used to say, now the dark beings are having a party and they're running your experience. And we call that emotional intimacy. Like, well, you get what you get. And I'm just going to tell you how I feel. And my feelings matter. I mean, I've heard myself say those things, I don't know how many times. And that's just a bunch of BS.
Right. Yeah.
That's just all the shadow saying, let me in, feed me, indulge me, and we'll do it under the guise of intimacy or under the guise of, the truth.
And so how would you suggest you change that before you do your work first and then go and have the conversation?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you notice, and you brought up a point about gratitude, when we're in a relational experience and a conversation, and you notice that something's bubbling up inside you that feels very uncomfortable, usually the first thing would be anger, right? And anger can be a very helpful energy because it tells us that we need to set a boundary. But what happens is we get ourselves all worked up in anger because we use anger to give us the courage to set the boundary. And we don't need it.
Right. This goes back to you can learn through grace and ease and joy versus pain and struggle.
Exactly. And so in the moment that we're angry, we're judging an experience as bad or wrong, right? Or unjust. And instead, we need to stop and go, whoa, I feel that anger. I'm going to have stillness between the stimulus and response. I'm really charged up. And that's when you want to say, wait a minute, I can't relate to you right now. I need a moment. I will talk to you. I can't do this. I need to, and oftentimes we'll say that, and then the other person will press us like, well, what's the matter? I mean, I've been that person too, and you want to say, I need you to regard me. I need to go and sit with this. So then the way to do it is to say, whoa, this is in me. And then that's when you want to run your energy, because you're going to need a little divine support to help you break through. Again, that tapping your process is really helpful in those moments, because then you can say, whoa, I know who I want to be. I don't want to be someone who goes into the shame and blame and goes off on someone. I don't want to be someone. I want to be the person who can speak from a place of love and regard. This is blocking me right now, whatever it is. So tap, 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 wherever you're feeling that discomfort, start to focus on your intention, your affirmation, and run your energy and go, okay, divine spirit, what is this? Help me process this. so that I can show up in a way that's for the highest and best good of all concerned, including myself.
Oh, love that.
Give me the words. And you know what? It may take a day. It may take only a minute. You may be able to do it on the spot. But the point is, you want to practice. Are you going to actually be able to do it every single time? No, probably not. It's not that it's really a process of evolution. I mean, I practice this professionally, and my kids will tell you, am I always like cool as a cucumber going, give me a second? No, usually I'm like, hey, knock it off or whatever. Like I go there too, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to give up and say, well, I practiced that and it doesn't really work. No, I know that in stillness, the answer will always come, and that I can always go and then go back to the person or go back to the situation and say, I see it really clearly right now. And my intention is to have a deeper understanding and repair what just happened between us.
Right. Wow. I love that.
Now you've got your love coming in, and hopefully the other person will meet you in love. And these are those, and to take it back to your book, these are those little slices of heaven then that happen. And if you put one little slice of heaven with another little slice, eventually you have this sustained container that feels very peaceful, right?
Yeah. And that becomes your experience, almost your set point or your divine wellness code.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I created a digital content program called Change It, Run It, Tap It that complements the book, because in the book, I actually did not put a list of the colors and the frequencies, but I mentioned gold and royal blue and emerald green. Would you mind just sharing how, first of all, what the colors mean and how to know what color to use when?
So I see frequencies of energy in certain color ways. And as we know, there are infinite amounts of ways that color can appear. And so always allow yourself to have your own relationship with the color, right? However, the frequency is a different story. That is actually a harmonic that we want to call in. Again, it goes back to that tone. The language of it is actually a beacon to call in certain energy. And so divine energy, when I say the word divine, I'm calling in love. I'm calling in a pure, unconditional love. I see that as gold. I see that as this color that it can break through anything. And then transmute all things. So blue, there's a few shades of blue. For me, neon electric blue, and this is something that in energy medicine, in my energy medicine program that I went to, neon electric blue is clairvoyance. And so when I'm wanting to feel clear, I'm going to tap into this neon electric blue wavelengths of energy, but I'm going to call them in divine clarity. So either I say it, I see it, I sense it, or I just know it. I don't get hung up on any one thing, because that puts me in effort. Right. And so we don't want to be in effort. We want to be effortless. Light is effortless. It's flow. And so, there's the color of compassion is like sky blue for me. So when I want to feel compassion, when I'm in that moment, when I'm angry at something, and I know that anger is telling me there's something that I need to evict from my space, and I need to set a boundary, right? But I need to honor myself. I want to set a boundary from honor, not from anger. I'll call in this color of it's like a cardinal red color, and I'll run that red, because the red will evict all of the feelings of diminishment, all of the feelings of agitation from my space. And then, so I use these colors, right? I call them in with intentionality. I'm calling a frequency that I want to attune to, so that I can then begin to shape and form my thought, my word, and my action from that color or from that frequency. So, like deep green from the earth is going to help me manifest creativity. That's how I see that color. And but the biggest energy that, I always go to is the gold, because love is love, and everything that I'm talking about those are facets of love.
Yes, it's all under the umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one that, as you're talking, that comes to me is the opalescence, the Christ force energy.
Oh, you must be a medium, because you read my mind. I was going to say those two, and then I stopped and I got on another. So thank you. The opalescence is neutrality. And what neutrality means is that I trust. I trust that all things are happening for me rather than to me. I trust that I am a divine being and that I am capable of moving through all things through my divinity. That is neutrality. And that is this opalescence energy. So basically it has every color in the spectrum, but that it's in this form that it's being held, and it shows me that I have the ability and capability to take it and mold it into what it needs to be in alignment with who I am and where I am in this moment. And so I tap into that from the earth. It comes up from the earth, because this earth dimension is just about that. It's about taking, these creative energies and molding them into shape and form in order to create an experience. And then the Christ force energy, forgiveness frequency, is if you picture a candle with a blue, the blue flame, right? I see that's how it comes in. And it is the frequency that says, I don't agree with anything but the light. Only light energy may be. It's where I let go of the illusion of responsibility, that I'm responsible for someone's response, or that somebody else is responsible for my response, and that we can be truly free when we understand that we have agency, when we stay in the light, that the light keeps us safe. And in that freedom, all things, there's only wellness. It's called Christ force because that is the energy. Forgiveness is the energy that the entity of light of Christ, integrated into this dimension. And so if you look at, it's not meant from a religious perspective. When I say it, it's meant from an energetic perspective of what it means. When we say, I forgive, it means you can spit at me, you can harm me, you can torture me. I will not be you. I will not agree with you. I will not go into hatred or anger or resentment, because that is not my truth. And I am free. I'm free of the pain.
Yeah, truly. And that is being in alignment with your higher self.
Yes. Yeah. And you see it, all the time. I've attended your forums, and when we're out of this dense vibrational planet and we have that perspective, right, where in relationship, most of the time what you channel for people is our messages of love and messages of, forgiveness. I don't know that, because that's what matters.
Right.
That's the gift. That's the wisdom that,
It's true. At the end of the day, they use their precious time to bring through truth and love. All the rest is, water under the bridge. So, yeah. Wow. Well, yeah, I think this is so if I were to, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are colors, they do match frequencies, but in the end, use your own inner knowing, your intuition when you're working with this. Like rose gold has been coming to me a lot, and that's gratitude, right?
Yeah.
And so, for me, it may not make sense. It may not be what you and I have done. You may say run deprogramming blue, but I'm seeing rose gold or feeling it. So I honor that and I use it. So I think it's important in the end, to really listen to your guidance when it comes to the colors. Yes.
I mean, having seniority over your energy field and having sovereignty in your relationship to your truth, your divinity, and being attuned in light comes from trusting your own relationship and that nothing and no one else is the expert. That relationship between you and the universe, the divine universe, and there are parts of the universe that aren't divine, and your relationship with those people, like we like to say, is yours as well. And so, I have one way, because I am a certain frequency that makes me me. I'm going to see it from my own lens. If it resonates with you, that's great. If I can share or show you something, that's terrific. But you always want to make sure that you're seeing it from your own perspective, because if not, then you're just allowing somebody else to program you with their energy, and eventually there's going to be a crash.
Right.
And and you're gonna what you want to do is say, is this authentic for me? How does this resonate with me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's no different than when I do readings and I say, here's what I'm getting, but you need to gut check that. Does it resonate? And let them be the judge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because, when you look at how everything is about intention. So you always want to, that's the easiest way. What is my intention here? What do I intend? And if and from which place am I about to think, or am I thinking from? Am I speaking from? And am I acting from? And if it's a fear, or any facet of fear, that's when you want to stop and say, I need to redirect. I need to find a truth here. I can still make the same choice, but I need to make it from a choice that's coming from a frequency of light. So it is my truth.
Right.
Because anything that's in a fear is a lie. It is not your truth. And what we'll do is we'll use judgment, and we'll use, victim consciousness in order to justify or feed our fear, our beast.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to feed your beast, then be prepared for your beast to create your life, because it will.
Yeah.
And don't judge the beast. It's not bad or good. It's just showing you where your information is stuck, that you need to get it back. That's it. It's like, when we're trusting our own knowing, we're realizing that all of me is worthy. And even those places of me that I know I'm practicing evolving into a place, if I'm in judgment of myself, then I'm going to get stuck in that pain pattern, because it's scary to think that I am less than. And if I look at something, it makes me good or bad.
Right.
Bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's not love. We have to, when you hear people talk about love yourself or love your shadow, it doesn't mean give your shadow a cookie and a hug and say, stick around. It means shine the light on the shadow so that you can get your wisdom back from it. Right. That's what it means to love it. Be compassionate for your shadow and say, oh, yeah, I have a tendency to, to be competitive with people and want to win all the time. Where's that coming from? Oh, it's coming from this fear, if I lose, that, I'll be left out or rejected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know that I do that. All right. I'm not going to judge it. I'm going to say, next time it comes up, oh, that's that thing again. Sorry, I'm not feeding you. No, I don't need to win. What I need to do is be supportive and cooperative and show up in my best form for whatever that may be in this moment. Now in that I'm allowing my light to create the situation. And again, it goes back to a slice of heaven. The more I do that, the more I build my place, my space in a heavenly way, which is a sustained energy field that is attuned to love.
Amen. That is beautiful.
So,
and that is the whole point of this book, What's Your Heaven?
Yeah, it's beautiful. And you know, what you've created is a practice, is a practical way of it. It becomes less esoteric, right? And more, oh, I know what to do.
Well, and that's what you've done for me these past several years. And it's a practical, grounded way to integrate and embody so that you can vibrate at that and then attract your heaven, be your heaven, and live your heaven.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's integration. So integration is key. And you know, I do this a lot in the workshops that, you know, we do through Well Soul, is we talk all about that purposeful action, right? And so what you're doing, I would say, I would add to my list, you know, reading your book, that's a purposeful action, right? Trying out the practice that you're putting forward and then making it your own if you need to, or sticking with, you know, I don't know that I even take the time to try to make it my own, because it resonates certainly with me. And I think anybody who tries it will resonate. And here's the thing, and I know you make this point as well. You don't need to go sit in a quiet room and light a million candles and tell everyone to be quiet in order to attune your energy. You can do it anywhere. Just do it. You know, you can.
Oh my gosh, you and I, how many sessions have we done while you're driving or I'm on the treadmill or I have Haven on the side? Well, because we know intention is all that matters. And sometimes my best sessions are those sessions.
They are, because, well, especially movement, right? Movement really helps energy to move, but effortlessness is key. But we want to integrate the practice into all parts of who we are. I mean, yeah, sitting in a quiet lockdown meditation it's either a luxury or it's really difficult. You know, for me, it's a luxury.
Completely.
But for some people, it sounds like, oh my gosh, I can't sit still that long. You don't have to.
You don't.
You can walk and tap and affirm and run your energy.
Exactly. And then the last thing, because I could talk to you for days and we should do more of these, but I just wanted to clarify that so a lot of people say, well, I can't visualize color. And it goes back to what you were just saying. It's intention. If you intend to run gold through your system, but you close your eyes and you can't really see the gold, what would you say to that?
Let it go. Don't worry about it. Just call the gold in. And, you know, it's about building your relationship with gold. It's about building your relationship with the divine.
Right.
You may never see a color. You may only feel it, or you may never feel or see anything, but you keep calling it in, and you notice how, you know, people are speaking to you in a more loving way, or how you're showing up in a more loving way. That's how you know.
Yeah. No, it's true. That's your evidence that it's working.
Your evidence is where you vibrate is what you create. Now, sometimes we're going to be vibrating at love and all hell's going to break loose. And if all that hell breaks loose, then it is sometimes exactly what needs to happen so that you can shift your perspective, right? So you can see where there's this hidden pain that you need to face and break agreements with, meaning forgive, so that you can sustain what you're asking for, what you're intending. And so if you have that experience, I really urge everyone to not go, oh, see, it doesn't work, or oh, see, I don't trust my intuition or my relationship with my knowing, because it told me to go left. I went left, and left was awful. Left was chaotic. Well, no, it told you to go left to face the chaos so you could break your agreement and you could say, hey, I'm not buying into this. You get your freedom back in going left. You get to take some wisdom back from that. And now if you keep walking left, you'll get to see, the seeds that are blossoming now, that, what is beyond that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like I just got an energy bath talking to you. Thank you.
Me too. Thanks. No, it's all, and thank you and congratulations on your beautiful book. And it's,
oh my God.
I can't wait to buy it for everybody.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Small Medium at Large. For more information about my offerings and events, and for additional resources on your spiritual journey, including my self-guided courses, books, and blog videos, please visit my website, RebeccaRosen.com. You can also follow me on social media by searching @Medium Rebecca Rosen on Facebook and Instagram. As always, wishing you brightest blessings and all love.